No, it wasn't clickbait. I really did get into an accident, but it's not that bad of an accident, so maybe it is a little bit of clickbait. As you can see, the bumper is popped out here, tiny little scratch, and the two tiniest scratches you possibly can ever see. So now that I've clickbaited you and I got you here, I promise it was for good reason, and there is a lesson and something you can take away from this little fender bender that I got, if you can even call it that. So let's jump in the car and let me break it down for you. So yes, it was not clickbait. I really did crash my car, or I guess I was more or less crashed into would be the more appropriate term for what happened. I was driving, I was on the highway, bumper to bumper traffic, and I slowed down like normal. I was braking, and when I was braking, I noticed that there was a little bit of a thump, that it felt like I braked harder than I actually did. And I thought to myself, did I brake hard? I was like, I don't remember braking that hard. I did it pretty smooth. And then it clicked in my head, did I just get hit? So I look in my rear view mirror and I see that the car behind me had come full stop and he had turned his hazards on. It was such a minor bump, such a minor, crash or accident that I almost didn't realize that I was hit, and I needed the confirmation of the guy stopped with his hazards on behind me to realize that, hey, dude just hit your car. I was perfectly fine. I didn't even really feel like I moved. So once I realized that this happened, I put my car in park and I turned my hazards on. Granted, we were still in bumper to bumper traffic, but we're still in the middle of a highway, so it was dangerous for me to get out. The first thing I did was stick my head out the window to try and get the guy's attention to see if we could talk and see if he was okay and get a sort of an assessment of the damage. He poked his head out the window. He asked me, hey dude, are you okay? It was very nice for someone who had just hit me. I guess he realized it was indeed his fault. I stepped out of the car. We exchanged info really fast, followed me off the exit. We wanted to get out as fast as possible so we're not going to get smashed by cars on the highway. Parked in a secure spot. We exchanged info and the car is getting fixed. I'm actually bringing it to the shop on Monday. The guys already agreed to pay the damages. We already exchanged all the info, so it's all going to get paid for. It's a super minor bump, as you can see, so it's not even an expensive bump, but this got me thinking about the reason I didn't want a nice car in the first place. As you guys know, and as I said in my last video, I'm not really much of a car guy. When I lived in LA or when I've had cars before, I get the cheapest, most affordable option I can for a car because my plan is to just drive whatever gets me from point A to point B. I don't care. The goal is to eventually upgrade really huge to, a supercar, something super dope and super fancy like an Aston or something like that. So in the meantime, until I get to top tier cars that I really want, I'm not really too concerned about whether I'm driving a super entry-level affordable car or I'm driving something sort of mid-tier like a nice BMW or Mercedes. It kind of doesn't make much of a difference to me. So when I got this car, I was a little bit hesitant. When I decided that I was going to purchase this car, it came to my mind that, fuck, this is a nice car. I'm going to have to take care of it. I'm going to feel a certain way in my head. I'm going to have the brain juice in my head of anytime I park my car or leave it somewhere when I'm driving it, like, fuck, I can't get the car messed up. I don't want it to get ruined because it's such a nice car, and if I mess it up even a little bit, it's gonna take away from the niceness. And this mental energy that's spent on the car, and whether it's in perfect condition at all times, is something that I didn't want to spend my mental energy on, because anytime you're spending mental energy on something, it takes away from somewhere else. This could be focused on my physical fitness training, or it could be focused on my businesses, most importantly, where I want most of my mental energy focused on. So this is another reason why I always drove really cheap, whatever cars that just got me from point A to point B, because I never had to think about it. I would barely ever wash the cars. I don't really care. If it gets dinged up or whatever, who cares? It's not that nice of a car anyways, so I don't really mind. But when I first decided I was going to get this car, all these thoughts started racing into my head, and I had to pause and sort of stop myself. It kind of reminds me of that quote from Fight Club where Brad Pitt talks about how the things you own end up owning you because of the mental energy and the cost that comes with owning material items or possessions that you value really highly. And when I decided I was going to get the car, I told myself, the car is awesome, it looks amazing, but it's not going to look like this forever. There's a very good chance it will get ruined, it'll get dinged up, it's going to get scratched, something's going to happen to it. I can get into an accident, it can get totally wrecked, and I'm just going to be okay with it right now. Before I even sign the lease, before I decide I'm going to take the car, I'm going to make it mentally okay for myself that, hey, this is going to get messed up. When it does, you can't be angry, you can't be upset, because it's a waste of time, and at the end of the day, it's just a car. And the real goal is to get a super dope car later on down the line anyways. And even when I do, it's going to be the same thing. Yes, I'm going to do what I can to take care of it, but I'm not going to let the car own my life or take over my life, and I'm not going to let the car, which I own me or own more of my mental energy than it needs. Because at the end of the day, the reason I got this was because it made my life convenient. I can get from point A to point B. Yes, is it a bonus that it's a nice car? It's fancy, it's fast, it has the nice acceleration. Yes, all of those things are awesome, and it actually makes the driving experience much more pleasant. So I'm actually more open to getting cars, you know, sort of in this price range and in this caliber, because I think the difference makes sense. But the mental block in my head of, am I going to be worried about the car 24/7 when I park? Am I going to be worried that someone hit it? Am I going to be worried of crashing it or ruining it? That mental energy is something that I wanted to really make sure that was not part of my equation, part of my daily life, and adding daily stress and anxiety, because the car is supposed to be a benefit, a value add to my life. So I'm glad that, you know, even though I've only had this car for about 3.5 weeks and I already got into an accident once, when I did get into the accident, I didn't even care at all. I wasn't even mad at the guy. Accidents happen. When you get on the road and you get into your car, you're accepting the responsibility that, hey, someone could hit me, or you could even fucking die on the road. You know, shit is crazy, life is crazy, and there's a lot of randomness and circumstances that you have no control over. And I'm just glad that I was actually able to not let the mental energy of the car get to me and take away from me, because this was my biggest this was my biggest reason and my biggest fear in getting this car. I know it sounds really stupid, and it kind of sounds almost like entitled, like, oh, I'm scared that the nice car is going to get messed up. But this is sort of the things that I've thought of and I've had my whole life, whether it's with nice clothing or nice possessions and items. I used to be super materialistic back in the day and really focus on my items. You know, I don't want them to get messed up. It doesn't mean you don't take care of them, but it means you don't let them pull away or distract from your life, and you let them be valuable to your life without letting them own you. So this is my little car rant, my little speech on the accident, and sort of how it tested a lot of how I was thinking about the car, and honestly some of the fears I had around getting it. Maybe this was helpful to you, maybe it wasn't, but I see this a lot. You know, I see this with my parents with their cars, I see this with other people I know. They let their possessions and their items own them, so much so to the point that it ends up taking away more from their life than it does add. So that's just something I've been thinking about and keeping in mind, and this experience with the car really made me think about it. That's it. You get my stream of consciousness car thoughts. That's the video. I'll see you guys soon.